it.
What's up, everybody? Sean here with another Live to Roll video. So, this week we are going to be talking a little bit about the disabled people in the Ukraine and all around the world, just in just underdeveloped countries. And also, we're going to talk some emergency preparedness. If you are in some sort of emergency situation, anything like that, do you have a kit ready? Do you have something that you could go like survive on for at least a period of time? So we're gonna get into all that kind of stuff today. Kind of a different topic, but yeah. So my name is Sean. I'm a C5 C6 quad from a snowboarding accident 18 years ago. Tom, want to take it away?
Sure. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I appreciate you guys joining us for a different kind of topic, but I think a really important one to talk about. My name is Tom Conaway. I'm a C5/6 quadriplegic. Um, I've been paralyzed for 24 years, and yeah, coming at you guys from SoCal. Sorry if there's a little echo, if there's an audio issue. If you guys want to let us know in the chat, I think it might be my headphones or my headset causing it, but let us try to shoot it to show as well. Bobby, you take it away.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom. I'm Bobby Rohan. I'm a C5/6 quadriplegic as well. I've been hurt coming in a couple weeks, 33 years from a bicycle accident when I hit the back of a parked bus. And just happy to be here, everyone. And I know we have a hard topic today. We're talking about the Ukraine, and when we think about that war in Ukraine and someone with a disability, thinking, man, what would it be like with my disability in a war? Because you think about it, you know, stuff is falling all over the ground when things hit the building and you're trying to roll to get out of there. It's not going to be easy. And what we've researched, and thanks to Tom, you did a lot of research, and there's 2.7 million people with disabilities in Ukraine. And that's a lot of people that, you know, are stuck and might not be able to get the right accessories they need or the supplies they need for themselves with their disability.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like I been ever since Sean and I talked about this last week about like this week's topic, and it felt kind of weird. Like I kept kind of second guessing myself. Like, should we be talking about this? Like, is it appropriate and stuff? And I mean, absolutely, it's appropriate. I was just wondering if I was maybe, the right person or we were the right people to be addressing this issue. And I kept like thinking to myself, like, gosh, it just seems so crazy. Like I can't even flip and begin to imagine what that would be like. And I mean, I hope that I never ever have to experience it. But I kept kind of bringing myself back to is that there are people experiencing it right now. They're living it in this very exact moment and have been for the last, 3 weeks or so since this whole heinous thing started. And it's a reality. It's a reality for not just, a few people, but likely, thousands, potentially millions, which is just absolutely insane. So we wanted to just talk to you guys a little bit about it, about the facts. A lot of people are talking about the issue of the war and the fact that it's happening, but few are, recognizing the fact that there are, millions of innocent individuals, and unfortunately, the most vulnerable of those individuals are, the disabled ones, the ones without mobility, the ones who depend on supplies, who depend on care, who depend on facilities that, potentially are not functioning anymore, supply chains that, certainly don't exist in most places in Ukraine, and, are forced to leave likely, one of the very few places that could allow them to function and maintain any kind of quality of life. And
And
so,
also, Tom,
go ahead.
if you don't mind me saying, leave without maybe even their supplies and going to a
Yeah.
place of a shelter or a bunker, they're not going to have their correct supplies. And I don't think, the military is going to be like, oh, yeah, a catheter, here you go. Oh, yeah, a suppository, here you go. You need a commode chair, here you go. No, no,
Yeah.
they're going to have to leave by, probably an emergency and get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
So some of those facts that we just wanted to talk about and mention to start this off and provide a little context to the situation. Bobby said it. There's an estimated 2.7 million people with disabilities of all age ranges and all types of disabilities in the country of Ukraine currently. Um, we're now in the country, most of which, like, all standard social services, which again, it isn't the most developed country to begin with. I was reading and doing a lot of research into this earlier. There was already a considerable percentage of the disabled population didn't have access to a lot of regular services that we do. You know, the same kind of social services that exist here in the United States don't exist in all parts of the Ukraine, if, you know, some of them exist at all. So there was already an issue and hardship when it comes to caring for this percentage of the population. And now it's a whole lot worse because,
Yeah.
you know, they're simply just left vulnerable. And when I say that, I mean completely. Like when it comes to the humanitarian effort that's taking place and the emergency relief that's been provided, there is almost no consideration taken for with disabilities, mostly because they're just the minority of the population, and you know, service to the greater good might, you know, mandate helping, you know, those most likely to survive, but it also means the harsh reality of the abandonment of millions of individuals. Now that's just crazy. Obviously, it's not so black and white. There is some humanitarian effort dedicated to individuals with disabilities, particularly children, who like there's and I was watching some very harrowing and reading some very harrowing accounts and watching some videos of children that were on palliative care in hospitals that had to be evacuated in Kiev, and how a mission from Poland was organized to get as many of them out as possible into, suitable hospital environment as quickly as possible. But it meant, traveling, I think, like a few hundred miles to a border, in with no means of like reliable transportation, let alone medical transportation. Um, and it's just absolutely, I mean, insane. It's like puts a lump in my throat, like talking about it, trying to think about and consider. So, point that I'm getting to is there is some effort taking place. Um, what we're doing this podcast more is mostly to spread awareness of the issue. It's just lot going on talking about the war, but little talking about little talk of the effort going on to assist those, who are victims of this, heinous, needless act that's taking place. So we want to bring some awareness to the issue, and also some organizations that are making great effort to uh, bring awareness and bring support to those individuals that have been abandoned by everyone, it seems. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Sean, do you want to maybe bring up some of the organizations that I emailed you and some places where you guys can go if you want to read a little bit more about some details of this? Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry.
And
I was actually going to try to copy them, put them into the chat and then onto the screen if I can, just so people can actually see the links and stuff. I will put them into the description, but I didn't get a chance to before the show. I just was doing a lot of stuff earlier today.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
obviously, I
go ahead,
wanted to
Bobby.
just say real quick. I just wanted to say real quick. Not that we're trying to make anything political here, and we only know by what we're reading, and we're trying to get the best information that we can. We're not in the places, the powers to be, to have all the answers and all what we should, or what's going on, and how it is being addressed over there. I'm sure it's there are a lot of organizations doing what they can, and as Sean's gonna to share, I think we're just here to, like you said, make awareness, and then also think about, you know, it can be more than war, and we're going to talk about this about other disasters that can go on. within your home, especially for us three. We have a big one that can happen at any second, which is an earthquake.
Yeah.
Tornadoes are a big one, and big storms that can come
Fires
and
are a
sweep
huge threat
areas.
in California.
Mm-hmm.
Wildfires are, a giant
Yep.
one of which like has affected my family, and it's like hit close to home several times. Like my hometown, a good portion of it burned down just within the last 5 or so years. Um, and yeah, so we're gonna get a little bit more into that and preparedness for that, and steps and efforts to take, while you can, and while it's meaningful to do so. But let's just talk a little bit more
So,
about some of these resources. I did some
so,
research. Again,
so
we are trying to be just unbiased and non-political about this, nonpartisan. Just wanted to get the information out there. I found that the European Disability Forum,
yeah, that's
Sean
like
just I think commented the link, is probably the largest NGO, it's just like a non-governmental organization that's supporting the humanitarian effort to support individuals with disabilities coming out of Ukraine currently. Um, and they are in organization with the Polish Association of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities and the Polish Disability Forum, who again are uh, that is a government affiliated organization, but it's where the majority of disabled individuals are being evacuated to. It's where a lot of the refugees fleeing from Ukraine are going, and it's where like the priority has been set for those in most need, those on palliative care, those who require daily care in order to maintain quality of life and proper health. And linked on those websites are some organizations. Again, I try to do my research the last few days to ensure that these are going to um, organizations that are just going to put the money directly towards the effort, and there's not going to be any cash grabbing or any shady stuff going on. These are all supported government associated affiliated programs that are meant for this effort, which are taking outside donations internationally, or they're NGOs, they're non-government affiliated organizations that are set up for the direct purpose of just benefiting these individuals and supporting this effort. Now, again, this population of this podcast, probably a lot of individuals who maybe don't have a lot of extra to support or donate. I know personally I don't. It's expensive everywhere to live now. With the way inflation's going, and like life is real, especially for individuals with disabilities, and all the extra associated costs to go along with that. That's not always the only way you can help or support an effort is to give money. I think one of the best ways we all can help and contribute is to make sure that we're informed about the situation that's going on. Do our best to educate ourselves, with meaningful, uh, correct information. That can be difficult nowadays, navigating all the propaganda and all the misinformation out there. But I still believe that with a conceded effort, you can educate yourself um, and put yourself in the know in regards to the things happening, so that we're aware at the very least. I can hold these individuals accountable for the terrorism and the murder that's taking place, because you can try to paint it however you want, but that's what it is. Um, the other thing we can do, and something I'm planning on trying to do later today or tomorrow, which is communicating to your government. Even if it's or whatever level you can communicate to, send an email to the representative in your area, communicate this issue, make them aware of it so that they can hopefully make other, more impactful parties aware of the issue. And again, the like we all got stuff going on in our regular daily life. Not everyone has the time or the energy or the ability to take the extra time to do that. But I keep going back to and keep thinking about the desperation that some of these individuals must be feeling. I mean, I know that I mean, I think a lot of us have experienced it. Like, I've been short on supplies, for, a week or two and had to like call someone and see if I can get some extra catheters and stuff like that. And I mean, I felt like the panic and the nervousness. I mean, even knowing that, like, worst case scenario, like, I'd be able to figure out something or go to an emergency room or do something to get my care taken care of. But I mean, I've just felt an instant of that desperation, of that feeling of not having my proper supplies or not having what I needed to take care of myself, just for a small amount of time. And I can imagine the horror of this endless unknown, no end in sight, no, idea of things might get better, or, things are can continue to get worse. And I mean, it is really a small thing I can do that, again, may make a little difference, but it could, make a difference. So again, maybe take some time to reach out to your local government official and make the need known. So hopefully some of the assets we have in the U.S. that are going to the humanitarian effort can be delegated the right way, and definitely some support can be given to these individuals. One of the craziest things that I was reading about, you guys, and I want to get your thoughts, Bobby and Sean, on this is, and again, I think this resonates a little bit here in the US as well. The shelters and the evacuation plans and the systems in place for the eventuality of this aren't, I mean, even with all the time and me being 2022, all the time they had to prepare, aren't really designed for disabled individuals at all. I mean, like, I read multiple accounts. I mean, this was like CNN, Washington Post, New York Times. There is not a single bomb shelter in the capital of Ukraine that is accessible.
That's crazy. Wow.
Like,
Yeah, that is pretty. That's
completely. Meaning, like, you'd have to abandon your wheelchair if you're wheelchair bound to, even get down there. I mean, God, what would that mean? Like, I don't know what that means for me. And like my pressure sores and stuff. Like, I have a hard time even in bed for 8 or 10 hours, let alone having to like abandon my chair for, weeks on end. To, I mean, it's just absolutely crazy.
You know,
The other
and
thing. Go ahead, Bobby.
not to cut you off, but we forget, how valuable it is that we have such great accessibility here, just to start with. And we're not
Yeah,
talking about bomb shelters. We're just talking about your general sidewalks, and that we have the ADA here in this country of the US. You
yeah,
know, over there, the accessibility is got to be very poor, and probably no cutouts. And uh, my work, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. I was sick at the time, and we were supposed to go, or I was supposed to go with them. Two of my colleagues got to go and train mentors, uh, to be peer mentors for SCI at their hospital and rehabs. And when they came back, some of the information that we learned about their accessibility is just really poorly. Many cobblestones all around. A picture of a handicap parking space, which they did have, but it was funny in this tight little corner. Like, no way anybody with a van ramp or anything like that would have been able to park in this spot. Another thing that their chairs are also not what we have here. Many of them, people with disabilities, spinal cord injuries, they're not able to have a driver's license.
that's
So
crazy
that
too.
means
Yeah.
if you got your upper body, nope, still can't. You can't drive with hand controls. That is not allowed there. Another thing is their average rehab stay. It's not. I wouldn't say their average rehab stay. It's just you're disabled. You live in a hospital or a group home, or usually don't go back with your family, because there's not like what we have here, IHSS, where you can get nursing care, and they don't have that. That's just you stay in the rehab. The length of rehab stay when they first get hurt is huge. But I do have to say, when I saw the rehab facility, there it was pretty modern in the sense of thinking about everything they need for learning to cook, uh, transfer, all the PT equipment, OT equipment that they need to train these individuals with disabilities. And so that was nice to see. But their rights are, and I wouldn't say rights, it just their freedom is not what we have here. And that's got to be the frustrating. And that's so that you just start right there. So when you talk about accessible bunkers, yeah, you're probably just talking about like the individual that probably does go home and their family members are probably carrying them up like 4 steps and probably just leave the chair downstairs and put them in the bed. And,
Yeah.
you hear about it, you read about them all the time. And I know we have a gentleman that's in our chat all the time, Peter, talking about when we talk about some of the great things that we have out here. He's like, I have nothing out there. Often says, Peter's just like frustrated that he just
Well, I
doesn't
know
have the same.
Andrew in the UK never. He has a lot of issues and stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that always, I don't know, it makes me makes me feel a certain way. Like, I don't know, I always try to give myself perspective, on my situation. Like, some people look at my situation and be like, man, that guy might have it kind of hard. Um, but, I know how lucky I am in regards to my situation and how much worse I could have it. I know how like absolutely like lotto ticket holder number one I am to have the life I do and have the access to the care and the medical supplies and the medical faculty and all the help and support that I have. Think about um, other people in less fortunate situations. Not by any you know choice of their own or any point of their own character. It's just how the cards fell, you know. Um, and it's tough. Like it's crazy. Like it really gives me some perspective. Anytime I'm questioning myself or feeling down on my situation, try to give myself a little perspective and just remind myself that I'm very lucky. And there are other individuals out there who aren't. So I better get my attitude and myself in gear and take advantage of the situation I have, because not everyone gets it. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
man.
it's just pretty tough. The other thing that I was reading, doing a lot of research into is just this whole process of like emergency preparedness, emergency evacuation. That turns out most systems of emergency notification are not in accessible formats, which I don't know, it's just kind of astounding. Like I know that nowadays smartphones are probably like the way we are most likely to get notified of, any kind of impending disaster, natural or otherwise. And that often is accessible for whoever you are, because usually you'll have a cool device that is like accessible for you, especially at least if you live here in the States. Um, and I think that is probably how you know a lot of people will be notified. But just thinking about it, like air raid sirens and stuff for hearing impaired individuals, or a blind person trying to navigate to an emergency shelter that isn't have braille or any other means for them to understand the information. Like just absolutely crazy to think about. And I I know ADA has been like a thing here in the U.S. for a lot longer than most other places. So I'm hoping that some of those systems are in place here. Um, but I mean, I guess we could like maybe get into that topic a little bit. That was like something me and my mom and my dad talked about a lot when I first moved out. A couple hundred miles away from them, from like Northern California to Southern California. I was like, what happens if there's like a big earthquake, or like what happens if there's an emergency, and we're not there to help you out? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, well, I don't know. I mean, I've thought about it. Like in the instance of like a fire in the building or something, I'm like, even if I'm in bed, I can do a pretty quick transfer to my chair. Like, even if it means going outside buck ass naked, like I feel like I could get outside quick enough to avoid some fire or something. But like, what if there's an earthquake and the part of the building collapsed and I had no way to exit? Um, like, what am I gonna do? And that's where I don't know. Like I'm gonna get creative if I am stuck here in my apartment with any means of mobility. I have like a lot of supplies here. I have bottles of water and like I have catheters and stuff, assuming I could get to them. And I am on a emergency list to be like seeked out by like emergency authority after a certain time in the event of disaster, which you can sign up locally. I think you can like figure it out by contacting your like police department or your fire department, and you just like mentioned that you were mobility impaired, and in the event of a natural disaster, you might need to be checked up on. And they will do that.
That's
They'll
cool.
come around, and I don't know. Even in the event of the pandemic and stuff, I know some people that live in it's not a facility, it's just a home with several roommates that are in chairs, and they had the fire department like come by during COVID and check on them and bring them masks and like other emergency supplies and stuff. So it can be very beneficial, even in like meaningful like scenarios that are happening in our world today. So something to think about or look into in terms of emergency preparedness and getting outside support. The first thing that goes down in instances of emergency situations or disasters is communication, because the cell phone towers get instantly overloaded. So usually for a while it's hard to make phone calls and stuff. So knowing that you're on a list and that you're potentially not going to be forgot about, assuming those emergency services still exist, that could give you some security. um, Now, in the event of evacuation, having a to go bag, or the ability to put one together quickly, is probably super beneficial. Do either of you guys have anything like that?
I was just gonna ask
Hey,
you guys.
Tom, real quick, if you want to, I got a text message. Your sound is pretty choppy. If you
Oh,
want
okay.
to do what you thought, so um, and
Yeah, let
we
me
can
try
answer that.
unplugging
Go
this
for it,
headset
Tom.
and see if it gets any better.
Go for it,
On that
John.
question, I actually haven't really had much of like a Go pack put together, to be honest. And I really need to have something probably more prepared. At the Abilities Expo, when me and Bobby were rolling around, we actually got some little like emergency packs from United Spinal. Um, uh, and there's like a few basic things in there, and I was thinking it'd be a good idea. I'll throw like my catheter bag and like a couple, extra things, some alcohol swabs, some different, maybe an extra catheter in case like. See, I have the super pubic, so like if necessary, I could need like one for emergencies, and that could probably last me, a couple of months if I needed to, like,
If you had.
change or something. So I do plan to put together a little bit better of a bag for myself. But yeah, to be honest, I would probably be kind of screwed if an emergency hit real like immediate and we had a bad earthquake or something and I was trapped or had to evacuate. Yeah.
So, Sean, I'll tell you this one little story. So, for when you get a girlfriend here, I don't want this to happen to you, but when I first started dating my wife, I lived an hour away, came down, the next morning, and all of a sudden, beating sweat. And I'm just like, oh, crud, my tube is clogged. And she asked me, well, do you have an extra one? Didn't have an extra one. I didn't have an extra one in my car. And, I mean, probably we almost didn't get married that day, or never would still be together if she didn't finally forgive me. But, the first thing is you're a dumb shit. You're a complete idiot. You didn't have and thank God at the time she had an apartment building right next to her work, and at her work right next door of her office building was a urologist. She called them and they were like, yeah, we have an extra one, came over. And I mean, at this point, I'm bullet sweating and, you know, pee all over me, you know, and it's just, she came in, we changed it, and she's just like, how could you not? So from that day on, I did what you need to do, Sean. I have 2 catheters. I have all my colostomy supplies. You know, especially on the colostomy, I kind of doubled up because that, you know, you go through a lot more. I have extra
Right.
shoes, shirt, pants, uh, a couple things of water, and then what I always, I'm not saying I'm great about this, but I do try to every 6 months to a year, get in that bag and change it out because it's sitting in the car, heating up.
True.
So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I'd hate for you to leave that tube in there for 2 years and then pull it out and what the heat damage does to that
I was
rubber
thinking
and stuff.
that too.
Oh man. So, you know, it's definitely, you know, a great thing to start there. And then obviously we all have the supplies like in our house, like Tom said. But also one thing I read, and this is, you know, for earthquake preparedness, is that you should have a gallon of water per day, per person, per dog. So if you think about it, most likely we would be, I think a stretch they said is if you can have, which is a lot of water around your house, it's, you know, for 7 days. Now, you know, I'm sure that's hard to find storage and then you got to switch it out every so often, you know. And so what we have done is we went out and bought the big 5 gallon jugs and we fill them up and then use them every so often. So we have, and we don't have the right supply, but we have 4 gallons worth. And then also the next thing we discussed is having, you know, how are we going to get out of here? And Tom, you said it, and I forget who, I think it's Celtic Bear said, "Oh, I like to see that you know, you're quick transferring your chair." You know, you got to remember, yeah, you know, if I just said, Tom, let's see how fast you can get in your chair, no problem. Now I put fire against that wall, and now let's see you do. You're going to be pretty scared, you know. So I just said, we're not dealing with a transfer. We're dealing with throwing the comforter down and getting my ass on the ground, and you just drag me out, which would be a lot
Nice.
quicker, you know. And we have the sliding glass door there, and you know, just hope everything goes well with that slide. Now we have not
It
practiced it, and I don't want to
it also
practice it.
depends on
But
my
in emergency,
situation, Bobby. If
what's
it
that?
came down to like, it's like me and Caitlin, were together, and like I had to get in my chair and then like pull her into my lap and get out as quick as possible. Like I make that shit happen quick if I had to,
I'm
man.
sure.
Like I know that for a
Yeah,
fact.
See, my
exactly.
But yeah,
problem too with
hopefully it'll never come to that. That's for
my
sure.
problem when I start stressing and trying to go fast, my spasms increase and it makes everything harder. And then like the transfer ends up taking way longer. It's just so much harder because yeah, the stress. But uh,
It
Yeah,
happened one
and I
morning.
think,
This
I think
was
Celtic. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, Celtic Bear said, you know, they deal with hurricanes and they
Yeah.
pack food and water, medicine, power bars, you know. So that was the one thing I didn't say, you know, having some of those easy to eat kind of items as well as storage. And what we do, in fact, probably can't get the camera over there, but we have a big Tupperware bin full of canned food stuff and some bars that we keep
nice.
just in case, you know. So when but then every so often she's like, "Hey, I need another can of tomatoes." Which she's like, "Oh, I know where some are." And I'm like, "Make sure we replace that because that's what, you know, when we're low in the pantry and haven't gone to the store." So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Good that you're
The
prepared.
research that I was doing, the recommended like time for like backup supplies they like recommend everyone try to have together in a to-go bag is 2 weeks. 2 weeks worth of counters, 2 weeks worth of whatever it is kind of bowel care supplies you might need, and then 2 weeks of food and water. and that generally is long enough to get, outside support and services to you and supplement, whatever you've been able to, provide for yourself. So I don't know, like 2 weeks of catheters for me is not like an absurd amount. Especially like if it came down to it, like I could always reuse catheters too. As like I use them intermittently if I had a means to, sterilize them. You know, but wouldn't be the water would probably be like the biggest, hardest thing to store and carry. And I usually, and I know it's not the greatest for the environment. I always try to recycle, but I have a lot of water bottles in my apartment. That's usually like the easiest way for me to, keep my hydration going. So, you know, if I was stranded here, and I had some mobility in my apartment, I'd like to think that I'd have enough water to float me for a little while. And food, I got some chubby reserves that might get me through a couple weeks.
Nice. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm sure
and a
if it
great
was
way,
here,
great time to check that supplies. We just got a comment from Alice. Is
yeah.
Shout out
doing
Mama
around
Emily.
daylight savings time. That's when they always say do it, the batteries in your smoke detectors. So they don't go off in the middle of the night with the low battery. Like that's the only time they ever start indicating is in the middle of the
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, I had to deal with that recently. No fun. Um, my like emergency plan. Well, let me tell this little story. The only time I jumped up in an emergency was it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. We had an earthquake here in SoCal. It was early in the morning. It was like at 6 a.m. And I was taking this math class, it's discrete math, and it's really hard. Like gnarly math classes. That if anybody's ever done discrete math, they know. Um, and I had pulled an all nighter to study. I was like had a C plus in this class, and I was trying to like get my grade up to a B. And I like was just like I'm gonna pull an all nighter. I'm gonna just study super hard for this and nail this test. And I make it into like 5 in the morning, and I have my carrier come in at 7, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna like 2 hour little power nap until my caregiver shows up. And so like I just lay down, I'm like just like starting to fall asleep, and all of a sudden my bed is it's balanced on 4 cinder blocks, because it like raised it high enough for me to transfer to. So my dad raised up on some cinder blocks, but it was on wheels on the cinder blocks. Now they were set in a little bit, so there was a chance that they'd be held in, but all of a sudden my bed was shaking, my TV was shaking, all my monitors behind me were shaking, and I'm like, oh shit, like no, well this is it, the big one's it, and oh my god, what am I gonna do? Um, so the first thing I did is I called my dad. I just hopped on the phone. I called my dad like instantly. I'm like, oh shit, like I don't know if like I'm gonna be able to call him. If the cell phone towers are gonna get overloaded. So I called him at like 6 a.m. He's like, what's up? What's going on? Is everything okay? And I told him, and he was like, just calm down. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And everything was fine. Like, it wasn't that big an earthquake. But I couldn't go back to sleep after that. So I just like got up and got in my chair. I'm like, shit, if this is the big one, maybe that was just like the precursor. But that was the only time like I like felt that emergency, like here in my apartment. But there was a car that caught on fire not too long ago outside my building, and it had flames going up the side. And I was thinking to myself, I was in my chair, like I was outside watching all of it, but I was thinking to myself, like, what if that happened in the middle of the night? Like, what if it actually caught the building on fire? Like, ugh, it was kind of scary. It was pretty nuts.
Well, Tom, and you weren't even there for the '94 earthquake, the Northridge big one.
I know.
And that,
I
and
know.
that was something scary in the sense I was still living at home with my parents at the time. And just during that, when it happened, and something for people in Southern California, if you're, listening to this, do not put shelves or big items above your bed. Not very smart. So, I mean, luckily I only had a few items and I'm just all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, 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 and started putting the pillow over my head, and then hearing every item in my room, the TV, everything off the shelves, just fall in. And then we had a swimming pool, and I had French doors where the swimming pool tidal wave because it's just splashing around, tidal waved into the house, and it was
Dang.
like, oh man, what was that? Uh, then it's over, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, where's my parents? Where's my parents? This is getting real. I hope they're okay. And in the sense, it took them a long time to get there, and they got stuck in their room where their dresser fell in front of their door. And so another thing, I'll tell you a big one is we didn't have any flashlights at that time around the house. It took my dad going out to the garage to get, a big flashlight, but you should have some flashlights around your room, one under your bed, one in each room if possible.
I got my
Yeah, that's a good idea.
flashlight right here, Bobby. Like,
Well, nowadays I forgot about that, but back then we didn't have the cell phones. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that. You're right.
Yeah,
well,
that is a
it's
nice
something that we
emergency
talked
light.
about too on the phone, on the pod before on the phone. Sorry, just holding up my phone, getting one dislike up here. On the pod, we've talked about this before, and that's having emergency assistive technology around. The iPhones are one of them, being it that you could talk to your phone and tell them you're having an emergency and like I need to get help. And if you have it set up right, it's able to understand it and then contact the right authorities to notify someone that hey, you need some help. The smartwatches are the same thing. It's like the new life alerts, right? Like it's just essentially the same thing. You can either voice activate it or navigate it um, with your digits and contact some help, some emergency services, if you have it set up the right way. So this could be beneficial in everyday life if you fall out of your chair transferring or something, end up on the floor, you don't have access to a phone or something, like your chair breaks down in the middle of the room and you have no way to reach anything or navigate to anything. Like there can just be a million things. You're just too weak to dial the phone, which I've been there, and like that was a real thing. So having contingencies can just provide a peace of mind, and God forbid anything ever actually does happen, could provide a means to respond efficiently and effectively in a reasonable amount of time. So something to consider. It's just we're really lucky these days. I'm very privileged, at least here, to have access to a lot of that stuff. Now, that's assuming there are emergency services to contact and people, on the other end. Um, again, hopefully, never ever get to that state in our life ever again. As I feel like we're evolved beyond war, we should be able to figure and understand this stuff without, having to kill a bunch of people and do a bunch of senseless violence. But hey, that's just me. Um,
Yeah.
my honestly, my plan to in the same emergency, regardless of what it is, and it's coordination with my sister who lives in East LA, but she's gonna like it doesn't matter, like you don't even need to talk to each other. If something goes down, she's gonna pack as much emergency stuff as she can in her car, try to get to me, and then we're gonna get me in the car, probably leave the power chair behind because I don't think we're taking it in her car, and getting to my parents at an undisclosed location in the desert where we have solar power and lots of pistachio trees to eat
And
off
lots
of.
of pistachios. Hell yeah.
The future. um, so that's the tentative plan. We'll see who we can bring along with us and start our, this
I-
lifestyle.
Dude, if it goes down like that, bro, I want to come survive with you in the desert.
You got a spot shower. We got you, man. And I don't mean to joke. I don't mean to make light of anybody's situation because
Right, yeah, no.
it's the reality of people. Some people out there, they are evacuating for shelter and seeking stuff like that. It's just my nature to try to provide a little levity to the situation. I can't help it. It's just who I am. But that is like me and my sister talked about it. We had like several real life conversations about what we're gonna do. I'm gonna try to get this to go bag with as many catheters and stuff. Like we got a store of catheters at my parents' place, like a lot of extra supplies and stuff that we can handle. And then most of all, I got my number one caregivers there. My family
Yeah.
that can help me out. Assuming I couldn't rely on the people that I do here, which is probably the scariest part, you know, that considering for me is like, and I've done it before. I can go a couple days without anybody, no problem. Like, I can clean my place, I can do my dishes, I can cook my food, I can even handle my care, bladder, bowel, otherwise, get myself clean. But I don't know if I could sustain that for an extended period of time. Um, at least realistically, like I feel like
Yeah.
I would develop some issues and start having some hard times. Um, so that's like a wild consideration for me is, first like losing not just my supplies, but like my care. And then the worse or worse scenario of that is losing supply chain for my care. I mean, I'm imagining that DMEs aren't operating in most places in the Ukraine right now. And if that's
No.
the case, then what's happening to all their catheter supplies and all their
Yeah.
Valkyrie supplies and all their other stuff that they rely on, regularly? I mean, we're already almost a month into the war, and like that's when I get my supplies every month. Like I get 4 weeks of catheters at a time, and that's it. And I mean, by like fortune of my situation, I've been able to stockpile, but that's really scary to consider, and to realize that that's a reality for individuals. I know Nicole. Hi, you're awesome, Nicole. Thanks for always supporting the channel and being in the chat. Mentioned she had some supplies that she, again, extra supplies she'd be willing to donate. I know Sean does have a friend in Austria who's a rugby buddy who's been coordinating some effort to donate some supplies just personally and has been accepting donations and stuff that can be
Yeah.
sent. Now we don't want to just post his information and stuff because we just don't want errant, stuff going to his house, maybe stuff that he can't, send off and stuff. Like we just want to make sure the effort is coordinated and meaningful. So if you do have extra supplies that are just taking up space, and some supplies are like actually pretty hard to come by, first world, third world country or not. So anything could be helpful. Um, Please don't hesitate to contact me or Bobby or Sean, and we can put you in contact with the right people and give you the right information and to figure out that effort. And again, let me just
So
shout out a couple of these organizations that I mentioned in the
so while you
beginning.
look those up real quick, I'll just mention
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I was going to mention that I'm trying. I have some boxes of catheters, and then a couple other people that are gonna trying to also get some supplies out there. We're trying to contact a organization that's operating out of New York that we could possibly send our supplies to. That's sending them out there to just save some of that shipping cost because right now I'm planning to ship them directly to my buddy in Austria, and then he's driving him to the Poland border, where they're coordinating with a group there that they're getting him in to the disabled people that need him. So yeah, either way, we're gonna get them out there. But just I'm hoping by next Monday is kind of the deadline I put on like trying to contact these organizations, and if I don't hear from them, I'm just shipping next Monday. So yeah,
and
that's
this is possibly, and I hope it ends in an hour from now or tomorrow or very very soon. But this could possibly be an extended effort, an extended humanitarian effort to continue to provide aid and help these individuals. So even if you don't figure out the effort to donate immediately, it's very likely there might be opportunity in the future, and there's still considerable need. So just keep an eye
right.
out for opportunities. And a few of these organizations, the reason I mention these is just because I vetted them. The majority of the humanitarian effort is taking place out of Poland, like the Polish border that's shared with Ukraine, and they are, accepting a lot of the refugees fleeing the country and coordinating the effort for, all humanitarian aid. But the one particular agency that's helping the disability effort, aiding the individuals with disabilities needing perhaps extra effort or aid or care, is the Polish Association for Persons with Intellectual Disabilities. Now I did a little bit of research into this. It is an organization for persons with intellectual disabilities, but they're making an effort to support all individuals with disabilities who require aid coming out of the Ukraine. And all of their funds received are sent and dedicated towards accessible accommodation, accessible transportation, cross-border transportation, rehabilitation equipment, i.e., wheelchairs, crutches, beds, and all supplies in that regard. And then medical supplies, catheters, diapers, food, assistive psychological support, translators, and 100% of donations go towards that effort. Then Inclusion Europe is the coalition out of Europe that's, I think, works with a lot of different countries in the European Union. It is working to provide effort and aid in regards to families. All 100% of the money collected there is being used to directly assist Ukrainian citizens with intellectual disabilities and their families impacted. Um, and then the National Assembly of People with Disabilities of Ukraine. This is a government affiliated organization out of Ukraine that is doing their best to provide effort for all individuals with disabilities that have been put into desperate situation, and are coordinating every effort possible to help them. And 100% of the donations received by them is going to aid in every way that I already spoke of, and any other way that I didn't, that is meaningful to the persons of Ukraine trying to get some help.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for
All
looking
that
those
stuff
up.
is in the links. Again, I don't know. Not all of us are in the position to donate. So, making yourself aware of the issue, staying informed on the issue, and then informing others, and potentially informing your local government officials that can, carry this information up the chain and make. I mean, I know the United States is dedicating a huge humanitarian effort to helping out the citizens of Ukraine, in conjunction with the European Union. But like I said, I was reading some really awful and desperate news articles about how very little of this effort is meant for individuals with disabilities. In fact, like little, if any of it at all, is. And that being said, like there's definitely some gray areas. Like if an individual with disabilities needs help, I'm sure they will be provided it as best they can. But there isn't a direct effort dedicated to helping a population of more than 2.7 million people that are in, significant need of assistance in a lot of different ways. So these organizations are, doing their part to organize a better effort to provide that kind of assistance, more specialized assistance for a lot of people who need some help.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's thank you
And
again for
And
that's
doing
great.
all that
yeah,
research,
Thanks
man.
for getting those out, Tom, and getting that research done. Hopefully some people
definitely.
can look into it, and I'm sure there's more. So if you feel very strongly about it, please do your own research and find out what you can, and find out if there's something local in your area that is doing any efforts for Ukraine. And the first question I'd ask them is, is there any efforts towards disabilities? And if there's not, a great way to get involved. Say, I'd like to help in getting involved, but I want it because of the people with disabilities.
And I know there are small groups all over the United States that are, making an effort to raise funds and to raise awareness for, what's going on over there, and, provide some any kind of help and support they can. So definitely that's another way you could help, is just like seek out some local groups that are, doing their part and join in, because I know that they're probably looking for as much help as they can get, and be happy to have you. I personally know of some local effort here in Southern California locally, and plan to look into more of that myself and do exactly what Bobby said. Try to raise some awareness as towards the effort towards individuals with disabilities, because again, like I just saw. I mean, I was thinking about this like a week or two ago, just kind of errantly in my head one morning. But since I've come across, just published in the last 3 or 4 days, articles on CNN, articles in New York Times, articles in the Washington Post, and other international press organizations reporting on this, because it is an absolutely insane, crazy, wild, desperate situation that has gotten little attention, and I think it's got little attention in history too. um,
Yeah.
it as like the side effects and the casualties of war that few people consider is individuals with physical and mental disabilities, that can't escape, or don't have the ability to understand what's happening around them and aren't provided any, effort to care for them, you know, in the midst of all that. So the fact that there is some dialogue and conversation happening globally and some effort being made is awesome, because I doubt that has existed in the past. um, if in any significant way. But we have to continue to do better and be better, and raise more awareness and do as much as we can to help out these people who need it. Because I know that if I was ever put in a situation where I needed some help, I would hope that there'd be some individuals there for me.
Right. And that's what we're all here for, is to support the community, and whether that's our local community or global community, we're all part of it. We're all here. And there's going to be people struggling in other parts of the world that we don't have struggles with. So if we can help and do something to alleviate some of that, I say let's try to help.
Yeah, I
um,
mean,
but
we're so lucky to live in a cool time where we can spread information and communicate to each other almost anywhere in the world, and raise awareness in a way that nobody could ever do in the past in times like this. So it's definitely a responsibility to take advantage of that, and use the tools at our disposal to spread as much positive, meaningful information as possible, um, to people, and to just raise awareness, because with awareness comes hopefully because more support, and just some rational thinking on the parts of these individuals who brought about this madness in the first place. This stuff will come to an end soon, and real effort will be considered, and these people will be able to go back home to the places they need to be to maintain their best and healthiest quality of life. Um, yeah,
but
it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
Also,
So
we do have something here in the States called United Spinal, and maybe calling them and seeing if there, any efforts that you can get involved with. I know they're the ones for our big advocacy here in the United States, and they have a lot of great resources, and you can check in with them. Also, maybe checking in with your local VA hospitals and seeing if they can have any information for you to get involved, or where you can make your efforts that you feel you can contribute.
Yeah, I'd also be really curious about reaching out to some individuals at like Global Mobility and other organizations that have experience with international outreach and effort already, to see if they possibly have any resources, or making any effort to provide some aid over there in the way of rehabilitation equipment or medical supplies. Um, but I'm definitely planning on doing that, contacting United Spinal, and can definitely follow up in the next few weeks if there are any additional resources I can make known to you guys out there. Um,
and we had
because I did try to do some research specifically into, I mean, this is as much as we talk about all disabilities, and this information relates to all disabilities. We all suffer, not suffer, live with spinal cord injuries, and that is probably what hits close to home to us. I tried to do some direct research into aid made for individuals with spinal cord injuries coming out of Ukraine, but I couldn't find any information in regards to like specific effort
Yeah.
made for certain groups. It's just kind of any effort that's being provided, any aid that's being provided is going to any individual with any kind of disability. You know, so but the thing is like most disabilities are very nuanced. Supplies for a quadriplegic or paraplegic, can be very different for an individual with a different kind of disability. And that's the only reason I mentioned it is because of these nuances. Like I believe the age should be split fairly amongst everybody. But I was just seeing if there was any particular way to get supplies for individuals with spinal cord injuries or whatever. But it just seems like all the effort in it is being delegated as best they can. Amongst everybody that's coming in that needs it. And if there's any additional ways to help out, me and John will definitely, and Bobby will definitely continue to follow up with this info.
Yeah, and I'll
Um,
try to get all the links and stuff that we're talking about in the description, like right as we're done with the show. And James in the chat actually asked if we have any direct links to the ones in Europe. The only person I have in Europe is the dude I played rugby with, Renee, in Austria, who is working with people on the Polish border. Um, and I can let you know that information, James. And the other thing is we're actually trying to contact a U.S. organization that is that's trying to do uh, service the disability community and like working with people getting catheter supplies and all that kind of stuff out there. But we still haven't gotten contacted back from them, so still trying to work that out.
yeah, and also if you go to the European Disability Forum, which is like the first website linked in some of the links below in the description, all of the aid and effort, there are contacts listed for all those organizations, and they could potentially link you up with individuals that are a part of the European agencies that are maybe closer to the ground on the situation and may be able to direct you towards how you could best provide aid or effort or donations. But it's a very developing situation. They are working on establishing like their first response towards, humanitarian aid for everybody, let alone specifically for disabled individuals. I read several accounts of effort made for individuals on palliative care and those who are, in the most desperate of situations. Those are obviously the people they're trying to evacuate and get help first. But I'm sure I know for a fact it's a gigantic effort with lots and lots of moving parts and reaching out and getting a meaningful response from individuals over there on the ground may be hard at this time. That being said, the contacts of these organizations, I'm sure, have some means of getting back to you and coordinating with um, citizens and stuff, other people. So it doesn't hurt to reach out, contact those organizations if you're looking for more information. And as I do and get word back, um, I will let you guys know too if there's any more that can be done.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, like Nicole, if you want to message me, I can try to get some of that equipment. We can work, get that over there. And anybody else that wants to message me, go ahead. We'll see what we can do to help. Do at least our small efforts, our small part. Um, and I just wanted to shout out before because we haven't done it in the show yet. Our sponsors, real quick, mobility professionals and urology professionals. So we just want to thank you guys for supporting the show and being our sponsors. Mobility Professionals is locally Southern California based. For anybody looking for any mobility equipment, wheelchairs, mobility aids, anything like that. And then also we have Urology Professionals, which is their sister company, and that's for catheter supplies anywhere in the U.S. So if you need catheters, they make it really easy to switch over. Great customer service. Give them a call. All the information is in the chat below. So I just wanted to get that in there before we forget, because sponsors like this are also helping efforts, like all this stuff. It's all important and helps the community and helps all of us.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about our awesome sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals, is they dedicate a certain portion of their revenue every year to not only assisting the
Yes.
disability community locally, but sure, they make an effort in all regards to people everywhere uh, with disabilities. So big shout out to mobility professionals who can help you out with your rehabilitation equipment needs, and urology professionals who can help you with your urological supplies, whatever they may be, anywhere in the U.S. They're the best, so go check them out. Yeah.
Awesome.
So thank
Also,
you guys.
if you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Make sure you're supporting the channel. And I know you guys are always doing it. And thanks for all your support. Great stuff in the chat today, as always. Love having you guys here. We're building a
James
great
mentioned also
community.
Global Consumer Network, which is an SCI. I've seen them. They do a bunch of chair, I think, stuff and work with like underdeveloped countries and stuff like that as well, I believe. And actually, I'm just going to do a quick shout out. James is actually going to be our guest next week with a few other guys. So he's in our chat right now. But Reinventing the Wheel, I'm going to send a link if you guys want to check it out. It's a documentary series. It's really awesome about a bunch of cool dudes in Canada, just like us, doing cool things to help the community up there. So they're going to be on, and they actually have a really cool documentary out right now. You can check it out. It's on VMO, and it's called Reinventing the Wheel. I will put a link in the description as well if you guys want to check it out. But next week, they're going to be our guests, and it's going to be a fun show, a little more upbeat topic.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys, taking it down a beat with us today, though. This is something I've been just talking about amongst like my friends and my family for the last few weeks, ever since I heard about the conflict that arose over there, and especially the condition and the situation for individuals with disabilities always sits like really close to my heart, and it always goes out to anybody who's in a tough situation, whatever it may be. So we thought it was important to take the time today to talk, bring some awareness to the effort being made to help out these individuals over there. Just awareness that the atrocities of war, the senseless, needless violence that takes place around the world, and all we can do is hope and pray for a happier, better, more peaceful future, where we're all have support, we all have what we need, and we're all taken care of. And we're gonna continue to spread the good word and keep on working hard until we get there, baby.
Awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. That's exactly right, man.
Big shout out to everybody in the chat today. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you
Love you, mom
guys.
and dad, for watching and supporting the show too. And yourself, Barbara.
Dad,
Love you, Barbara. Miss you. Paul, what up, Paul? Thanks for James and Renee, Celtic Bear, everybody watching. We're really appreciate you guys. We got an awesome episode coming up next week. We're working on another little cooking demo coming up, and soon after that, and some other fun guests coming back from the Abilities Expo, some people that we talked to, and just a lot of other cool stuff. We appreciate you guys hanging with us and putting
And
up
Ben,
with
thank
all
you for the super chat
uh,
earlier too. You're the man. Thanks, Ben.
yeah.
What'd you say?
I said thank you, Ben, too, for that super chat earlier. He's always dropping in, the man. We always appreciate you, buddy. But thank you guys. We appreciate you guys checking us out again. Like we were saying, like, subscribe. Make sure tune back in, hit that bell so you get the notification for next week. And we'll see you guys next time. Live to roll, everybody.
Live to roll.